I'm going to use the opportunity to speak directly to the Crown and the British courts and judicial system, not in a bid to absolve our former Senate President for any offenses he may have committed, but to plead for clemency. I believe it behoves on any government and any country, wherever their citizens are distressed or found in situations such as this, not in a bid to establish their innocence, but in a bid to plead for their clemency, that such a country or government should intervene. We have seen it times without number by even the most advanced democracies in the world. Recently, an American citizen, a famed basketballer, Britner, was caught and arrested by the Russian authorities. The crime was established, but the US government did not relent for a day until her release was secured. And for that reason, I will, on behalf of the House of Representatives, also speak to the British judicial system and the courts. Now, for as long as I have known Ekweremadu, he has been a brilliant lawyer, a distinguished public servant, and a dedicated family man. Over the course of 2 decades of shared service in the national legislature, he has become a dear friend of mine and a trusted colleague. For these reasons, his arrest by authorities in the United Kingdom on charges of conspiring to arrange the travel of another Nigerian citizen to harvest his organs was a terrible shock. These revelations are a far departure from the character of the man as I have known him, and fall far short of the standards of behavior expected from a man of his standing. All that has come to light since his arrest has been deplorable and deeply unpleasant. I am grateful and thankful that Honorable Toby has laid the foundation and the circumstances upon which this act was committed. The intention is what is important. The man walked willingly to the embassy to declare his intent of what he was going to do, not being fully seized of the requirements of the British legal system. For 24 years, since the return to democratic governments in Nigeria, Ekweremadu has served the people of his community, his state, and his country with vigor and dedication. For most of that time, he has been a member of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And during that time, he has used his office to advance the cause of democracy, champion critical reforms, and advocate for the development of his constituency. Through his Ikioha Foundation, of which he discussed severally with me, he and his wife have helped provide access to quality education and healthcare for thousands of people in his community and his state. Their public service and private philanthropy have helped improve the social, economic, and political fortunes of their communities and aided the personal and professional progress of many. Now, none of this suggests that either Ekweremadu or his wife should be above the law or held to a different standard than any other citizen. I recount these things only to present a whole perspective so that this moment of consequence, the judgment of the court, may take into consideration the Ekweremadu's history of honorable living and distinguished service, their contributions to a better world, and the possibility that, given a chance, through the penitence of service, both Ike and his wife can yet atone for their failings and find forgiveness before God and man. The welfare of 2 young Nigerians lies at the heart of this case. And I hope that after all this is done, Mr. David Nwamini, the complaining witness, will go on to a long and productive life, free from the trauma of his recent travails. For Miss Sonia Ekweremadu, Ike's young daughter, whose well-being necessitated the unfortunate actions that have now led to these terrible consequences for all involved, the nightmare of a dangerous diagnosis is compounded beyond measure by the real possibility that the 2 most responsible for her care may shortly be committed to terms of punishment from which they will be unable to offer even a loving embrace when nothing else will do. Surely, it is within our means to live under the law and be just and merciful at the same time. I urge the court to consider the noble acts of Ike Ekweremadu's life and judge him on the totality of that life, rather than solely on this last worst act. I am confident that Ike Ekweremadu and his wife have learned from their recent experiences and will be guided by their better angels for the rest of their days. And for the sake of their daughter, Sonia, let mercy temper justice for this family. I choose this opportunity to speak directly rather than write to the British authorities. As you said, a former head of state has done that in writing. I am doing that verbally as a Speaker of the House and on behalf of members of this very, very noble chambers to ask for mercy. To err is human. To forgive is divine. And I pray that the Almighty God will minister to the British to have mercy and take the totality of Ekwerimadu's life. For those of us who know him, I have never met a man as gentle, versed, passionate about his constituency, his people, and the country. We've served on several committees together, particularly constitutional amendments. And I know his passion for a better Nigeria. I pray that the British authorities will look at what has happened in context and ask the question whether or not a man and a mother and a woman who would do their all, give their right arm, as it said, or whatever it is, to save their daughter, should find themselves behind bars for as long as the British law requires. I am a lawyer, and I know when it's time for conviction, there's something called allocutos. And this is a form of allocutos. And I pray that we will convey these messages of the resolution of the House, that it will be persuasive to the humanity that is in each and every one of us. I wish the Ekweremadus well, and I pray that God will bring them back shortly to the shores of the land.